Hello, welcome football fans around the globe to another edition of the EPL Show with me, Nick Slade, and my trusty partner in crime, Gary Montague. So I was waiting for him to say Gary Montague.
You're waiting for me to say my own name there. Okay.
So that's the genius of the show. It's just non-stop entertainment. So how have you been, everyone? I guess you're this show is probably coming delayed, transmitted to you around the Champions League fixtures Tuesday and Wednesday. But we're not here to talk about the Champions League. We're here to talk about what happened, what went on this weekend in yet another pulsating round of Premier League fixtures. Is there a slight bitter taste in my mouth because I've just watched United succumb to a defeat in the Champions League? There is, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. If we do the show at this time, that's what you get. Still, it was a cracker. Gary, how are you? How was your weekend?
Very good. Yeah, very good. I managed to get quite a bit of viewing time in, which was good. Watched most of the games and, well, obviously saw the highlights of all the games. So, yeah, plenty to talk about, weren't there? You know, so we're best crack on.
Talking points everywhere.
I mean, we started...
Absolutely.
Sorry, we started with the Palace-Tottenham game, didn't we? Which was, I mean, we said last week when we previewed it that a lot of people thought maybe Tottenham would go there and win. We sort of mentioned that we felt Palace were a bit stronger than they were given credit for. I think we both predicted a draw, actually, but at the end of the day, I mean, the first half, it was pretty much all Palace. Well, second half in particular, Palace absolutely dominated. I know there was a sending off that Tanganga, was it? Tanganga? Or, I can't say his name.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a ridiculous second yellow, but no, Palace were really impressive, and yeah.
They were well up for it, weren't they? I think as the games unfolded, as always, you know, over the weekend, you think, you know, how close are we with our predictions? I think we're wide of the mark with that one. I think we looked at 2-2. I think we both had that one around maybe a scoring draw.
Yeah.
But there's no question. I mean, I think as the game wore on, you just thought if Palace could, you know, grab the first and they could go on to do that. And obviously they got the penalty. And then, yeah, you know, it was obviously a dream debut for the new man from Celtic, Edouard. And, you know, well, you've got your own feelings on him, you know, because obviously the Gunners missed the boat with that one. And just showing really that, you know, coming from the Scottish League straight into the Premier League, you know, it's if you've got quality, then you're going to do a job. And he certainly did that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that
when
Palace signed him on deadline day, I mean, I don't want to go straight into about Arsenal. I felt Arsenal needed a centre forward, and I thought, oh, well, Palace have got him for 18 million. I mean, this guy's got some good numbers. I know people say, oh, it's only in the Scottish Premier League or whatever, but just some of the finishes, when I was watching him playing for Celtic, some of his finishing was very cool and very calm, and he just looked a natural in front of goal. And I thought, for 18 million, I think Palace have got a bit of a steal there. You know, and I think they needed it because obviously at the moment they've been relying on Benteke, who's not the most. He doesn't get the most goals or anything, does he? So I mean, I think that they need it. But also, Wilf Zaha was absolutely brilliant. He dominated that game, and you know, he really between his teeth, and he gave the right back a terrible time, didn't he?
It did. Sorry, I mean. When he's on song and he's at it, which is frequently, you know, Palace are a different team with him, you know, on that kind of form. And yeah, again, some astute signings. I was surprised to see Vieira go to Palace, but you know, decent manager. He had a spell at Nice, of course, and then, you know, a lot of managers do this. I think, well, you know, let's just go to a club. I mean, a bit like Bruno Lage from Benfica going to Wolves. Not a big club in the Premier League. But, you know, an opportunity to make his mark and to show people what he can do as a manager. And that's a fantastic result, really, because, you know, Nuno's had a decent start with 3 wins for Spurs. And now, you know, now with that defeat at the hands of Vieira's Palace, you know, that's a great result for Palace.
I think,
you know, see where they go from here.
I mean, we spoke about it with regards to their game against Wolves, and Wolves were very unlucky against Tottenham. They played really well, Tottenham, against Man City. They sort of bullied them off the park in that game to win their first game. Obviously, look, then they beat Wolves, and obviously then they beat Watford. So I mean, did they flatter to deceive in the first 3 games? I don't know. Maybe Tottenham supporters can let us know their thoughts on it, in the comments below. But like I said, Palace dominated them. They look really good, Palace, on Saturday. Now, whether that was a one-off because it was a London derby and obviously Vieira's connection with the Arsenal-Tottenham thing, but I don't know. So we'll see in Palace's next game, but, they're definitely worth their win.
Yeah, exactly. I think, it's one of those situations, isn't it? After 3 games, you look and you think, would you rather have 9 points and just scraping each result, or would you rather, maybe get a draw, maybe a win, even a defeat, but you're playing good football? It's what every football fan, it's that dilemma, isn't it? Which one do you want? I think after 3 games, most Spurs fans, we've been perfectly happy with that. But we talked about earlier on the show previously that, they haven't set the world on fire, Spurs. And I wasn't surprised. I thought that Palace would get something from the game. I didn't expect them, as we spoke about on Friday, I didn't expect them to get all 3 points. But yeah, great result for them.
Yes, fair play to them. So only 1 defeat in the first 4 games. So you never know. I mean, there was a lot of questions about Vieira when he first came, but it's only 4 games. But let's see how it continues.
Exactly.
Obviously, we'll move on now to Vieira's old team in England, Arsenal. 1-0 victory over Norwich. Did you watch it at all, mate?
Yeah, I did, and I thought, just laboured a little bit to a victory, but you're one of the biggest Gunner fans around. What's your feeling? I mean, you got the result. It wasn't a 5-0 that we talked about potentially that could happen. Probably best to really start with asking you, how do you feel? I mean, we spoke on before the weekend about, could it be Arteta's last game? He really must win it. It was definitely couldn't lose that game, and then probably had to win that game. The goal was possibly a bit dubious for offside, but you take it, won't you?
Funnily enough, I mean, we'll go into a little bit more detail in our other show, The Red Half. If anyone wants to catch up with that one, The Red Half is the other one we're doing. But no, the goal itself, I initially thought it was offside, but when they showed it again, when it came off, I mean, it was a bit of a sort of pinball type thing, and when it actually came off of Pepe's back to Aubameyang was behind Pepe. So, Pepe was basically on the goal line. Aubameyang was 2 yards off the goal line. So that's why it was given, basically. I could understand on first viewing why people thought, oh, maybe that was offside, because I thought it was initially. But then you look at it again, you see the sequence of events to get it to Aubameyang, it wasn't offside. So the performance in patches was okay. I mean, no disrespect, they're playing Norwich, one of the teams who are favoured to go down. I think, really, they had quite a few chances. Arsenal could have scored a couple more. Norwich had a couple of good chances at 0-0, to be fair. There was a header from, is it Kenny McLean? I think it was. He had a chance. And if he'd have got that on target, it could have been a different story. The fans would have definitely got on the backs then, if Norwich would have gone in front. But I don't know, maybe it's just that little bit of luck that I needed. I mean, obviously, from Arsenal's point of view, the result was the main thing, I guess. A performance would have been good, but the performance was sort of lacking. The bigger test is obviously going to come this week against Burnley, and we'll talk about that later. As for Norwich, I think obviously they came for a point. They almost did it, to be fair to them. They defended very well in patches, but they offered that pretty much nothing going forward, which must be disappointing for the fans, because you've got like Todd Cantwell sitting on the bench, and the other guy that they've just signed, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's another attacking midfielder. Both of them were on the bench, and they didn't come on till about 70 minutes or something like that. So I think Norwich could have taken advantage of it, but they didn't. Farker obviously thought, well, a point will do us, but I can imagine a few Norwich fans are a bit disappointed with that.
Yeah, exactly like you said. Well, I mean, I think we're winning them by the minimum. It was always, Norwich was still in it. And again, whether the goal was marginally dubious or rightfully given, as it was, in the end, 1-0, you're never sure. Until that whistle blows at the end of the game, there's always a chance that they could have got something from it. I think, to be honest, look at that. We'll talk about it, as you say, more in the in our Red Half podcast. But it was almost like, part of me felt it was almost like the worst result for you guys, because almost not worse, like a 1-0 stuttering victory. At least it gets you moving. At least the ball's in the back of the net for the first time. But there was a part of me that felt like you either go out and win 5-0 just to show that you can do it, or you stutter through it. And I felt like you kind of stuttered through it, but every cloud has a silver lining. And I suppose the silver lining there is that you're off the mark and you're moving. But in terms of Arteta's future and the direction of the club, maybe there's still question marks hanging over that.
We'll go into a bit more detail about it in the other podcast. I mean, I've got obviously a few things to say about it, so I don't want this to just be Arsenal-centric, if you like. So we'll move on to the Brentford-Brighton game, which was a decent game, actually. I think Brentford created a lot of chances. They've got a guy up front, I can't think of his name, Brian Mwamba, or I can't...
Mbuema.
That's the one. He had about 3 really good chances in that game. And I thought once he didn't take them, you started to think Brighton could sneak something here. And that was the case in the end. I mean, it was a nice finish by Trossard at the end, 90-odd minutes. But it was a really even game. So, I mean, Brentford can take something from it. But that guy, if Ivan Toney had any of those 3 chances that guy had, he would have put one away. I think it might have been a different story. So that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was, we had it down as a draw. I think we talked about, potentially being very difficult to call. Either Brentford might nick it, Brighton might nick it, or ends as share of the spoils. But to be honest, I think, leave it so late. Brighton got their just rewards, for hanging in there, and it's probably a difficult one to take for the Beast, because as always, whenever you concede in the last minute, I said this demoralising feeling. So, but yeah, good result again for Potter, and they just keep on.
Yeah, I think it's the first time they've won.
Going from strength to strength.
It's the first time they've ever won 3 out of the first 4 in the top division. I think I read something that they took 18 games to get 3 wins last season. So, it's a great improvement. And I hope they do well, because I like Potter, I like Brighton, the way they play football, try and play football, So, yeah, good luck to them.
Yeah, I'd say with their ethic and their attitude, it's not a big surprise, really, the fact they've started like this. And again, getting points on the board, especially, their home fans, their fans, or their away fans, must have been absolutely delighted with, a 90th minute strike and decent strike, as you say. And so they're going to the next game with, as you say, with three wins, builds momentum, and good. What a comparison to last season as well.
Yeah,
taking 18 games to get that feat.
I mean, as for Brentford, though, I think I've been really impressed with them. I know they played in the first game. They beat Arsenal, but then they got I think they drew at Palace and they drew at Villa. So they haven't been sort of out of games, which is interesting for a team that came up playoffs. So normally teams that come up that way are sort of battered, aren't they, or really favourites to go down. But as it is, I've seen some really good stuff from Brentford. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on, like within the next sort of once 10 games are up, seeing where they are.
Sure. Well, I think the thing is, especially after get 5 points out of the first 4 games, leaves them 10th position at the moment, and that's a decent return. And obviously, Thomas Frank would have looked at it and said, well, if you can be 10th position after 4 games, then it's a decent start. But as you say, they've not been battered in any of the games. Obviously, after winning the first game, they've gone on to draw 2 after. And, they could have got something from that, and Bueno had enough chances to. But maybe just sometimes it's easy to say, maybe, that quality level, he's getting used to the Premiership as well, the Premier League, excuse me again. And therefore, it's adjusting, isn't it? And maybe on another day he'll score those strikes, those chances.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, interesting, decent start for Brighton, decent start as well, relatively speaking, for Brentford too, the champions. He says with slight bitter taste, but there they are. So Leicester. How did you see this one? It was. didn't expect them to get heavily beaten. They certainly weren't. And it was Bernardo Silva goal midway through the second half that was enough really to seal the points for City. How did you see this one?
I thought it was quite a close game. I think Leicester were pretty much in it all the way through. You know, when it's only 1-0, they could sneak something. I think Leicester played quite well in patches, what I saw. I think they needed to take one of their chances early, and they didn't. And City rode their luck a little bit on a couple of occasions. And then obviously come along with the goal from Bernardo Silva, you know. I think it was a little bit unlucky, actually. It was a shot, as far as I remember, it was a shot by maybe Jesus, or I'm not sure who it was, but it deflected off Soyuncu, and it took the pace off it and put it straight into Bernardo Silva's path, didn't it? And it was quite a simple finish, but it was that little bit of luck sort of games, you know. And Man City got the luck in that game, I think, and Leicester were unlucky. I think they'll be disappointed to lose that. I think they probably deserved at least a draw out of it, because it was a tough game.
Yeah, I think it was the kind of game, really, wasn't it? It was always potentially going to be decided by a bit of luck, bit of fortune that swing it their way, and that's ultimately what happens. And you know, apart from that, but there was certainly was a very equal game, and could have gone either way. But you know, as you say, it was fortuitous deflection off Soyuncu and fell into the path of Silva, and that was enough. So harsh on Leicester. But again, you can see in the early stage of the season that, you know, Rodgers have got a decent team there.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to certainly be up there fighting this, you know, for the top positions this season. City, of course, after that opening day defeat, they've nicked, but they've got a 1-0 defeat to back up the two heavier defeats of other teams in the previous 2 match days, and yeah, ominous signs really. So just starting to get. Obviously, it was a weekend that was disturbed really by preparations because of the South American players and availability. Decisions weren't made into a late point with that, into a late stage, and honestly farcical really. But fortunately, the international break is behind us for another 10 days or something. Until we get another one.
It's a good result for Man City though, wasn't it, when you think about it? You know, I mean, obviously I'm not the biggest fan of how they play football or anything like that. Sometimes they can be good to watch, but other times they could be, I don't know. I don't find them as, I don't know why it is that I don't enjoy watching them. And I don't mean to dig them out or anything, but
I know what you mean, exactly. You know, I think and I think as well with you know, maybe it's a situation of so many resources, such an embarrassment of riches that they've got. They've got a manager who, you know, Bielsa came out and said a couple of years ago, didn't he, how much he kind of damaged football with the way that he plays. And you think, well, you know, he's chosen that style, he's created that style, he's invented it, and it's obviously reaped, you know, massive rewards. But you know, it has, in many ways, maybe there's a sort of dullness to it. Maybe there's a kind of boring element to it.
I don't know why it is, because you'd think with the players they've got. I don't know. Maybe Man City fans can let us know. I mean, you know, do they enjoy watching it? I mean, obviously they thumped Arsenal with ease and thumped Norwich with ease, but I don't know. Do they week in, week out? Do they enjoy watching that type of football? I don't know. You know, maybe they do. You know, I mean, I was watching Arsenal when
it's almost become
when George Graham was in charge and we were winning 1-0, 2-0, whatever, and I loved it because we were winning every week. But you know, so maybe it's not that big a deal, you know, to an actual supporter. Whereas a neutral, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say I'm neutral. Obviously, you're not neutral, you know, but I am.
The way that City play football. Yeah. So yeah, we love to know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about the way to play football. Answers on the usual mediums.
Answers on a post.
So yeah, but yeah, as you say, though, I mean, they've certainly started. You know, 3 wins out of 4 is a very decent return.
Yeah.
Leicester will be looking to push on. We've had 2 wins, 2 weeks now, and we'll see where they go from there. So yeah, the next one was obviously the return of the prodigal son. Much talked about, and obviously just this lunchtime, well, this evening, I should say, where you are, watching the way the United have just sort of succumbed to defeat in Switzerland. You've got this euphoria that surrounds Ronaldo. He's obviously scored within 15 minutes tonight, I think it was. He took 45 minutes to get off the mark in England, and on Saturday lunchtime, obviously we're talking about United against Newcastle. A very sort of let's forget about tonight. Let's talk about Saturday and obviously the Premier League games. Unbelievable dream debut. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What an impact.
To be fair, I mean, it was always going to happen, weren't it? I mean, it was not similar, but along the same lines of when Brentford played Arsenal at the start of the season. It was like one of those things that was just going to happen. I mean, we spoke about it, didn't we? We said that he'll probably get a couple of goals, 2, maybe 3 goals or whatever, and it was just going to happen. So I think that regarding the actual game, I think Newcastle had a couple of chances, didn't they? When it was 1-1, I think it was, or 2-1. They had a couple of chances. One, I remember Joe Willock. He just needed to pull it back to Joe Linton, and he smashed it. It was like, what was that?
Yeah.
I think they had a few chances.
I think when Newcastle got their equaliser, when they got their equaliser, it was no more than they deserved, really. And as much as it was frustrating from United's fans' point of view to go in at the break, and which is a great time to score. There's never a bad time to score, but great moment in the game to go 1-up. And we didn't really kick on in the second half initially because Newcastle was still very much involved, and the goal from Manquillo for Newcastle was really richly deserved. And,
it was a good goal, actually.
I
like that.
Yeah, great strike. And again, Alan Maximum, proving a handful. And probably Maguire would look back and say he shouldn't have done what he did, and should have made a better challenge. When the ball went through to Manquillo, it was a great finish against his fellow Spaniard in the Gea. So, just looking back at that particular sort of 5 to 10 minute period, the way that we responded, the way the United responded through, Luke Shaw feeding Ronaldo, typical Ronaldo, touch. I mean, the ball's slightly behind him. He's dragged it with his first touch right into his own path, smashed it through the legs, I think, of the keeper.
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?
And once again, just prolific, absolutely prolific. And
the
way that he is, that's.
Sorry, just to that second goal. I mean, obviously, it was the build up. His movement to it was great, but the goalkeeper. I mean, what are you doing? Why are your legs so wide open? I mean, to be honest, it's like I don't know.
It's like the word that springs to mind with Ronaldo is efficiency, and prolific. I mean, you look at his stats, and there's a reason why. I mean, he's been here 2 games already, and he scored 3 goals. I mean, there's a reason why, he has just scored so many goals in his career, and those kind of goals will drag you towards league titles, as they did before the last time.
I mean, I think he's getting towards 800 goals now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And again, it's also the power to take games away from the opposition like he did on, and I hope he'll do that a lot more throughout the season. Obviously, the mind is clearly fresh after what happened tonight, but it's just the impact that he brings to the club in general is phenomenal. And I think there'll be a lot of games this season where teams will do what Newcastle did. They'll give it a real go. They'll have their chances. But I just think it's that Ronaldo factor. That ability to, when the game is tight, just do something and again, efficiently take the game away from the other team. And that's really what he did at 2-1. He was obviously involved in the goal. Bruno's goal was just outstanding. And then it becomes 3-1 and then 4-1, with Lingard, fantastic strike. So, I suppose it was the dream debut. I think we talked to the weekend about, it could be 6, could be 10, it could be anything with him in the team. But it was a very solid result. Flattered, a little bit in terms of the effort and the contribution from Newcastle, which is, noteworthy. But again, when you've got players in the team that can just do that, again, doesn't matter how much effort you put in, doesn't matter how many chances you try and create as the opposition like Newcastle did, ultimately, you're up against it. if you play
Yeah,
against
obviously we'll talk about it.
Yeah, but they're doing well. Newcastle will beat. Sure.
We'll talk about it in the red half, but just quickly, what's their next fixture, Man United?
United's next fixture is, because remember we talked about we've got West Ham away at the weekend.
No, West Ham away. All right, I was just interested. Okay, all right. Sorry, if I keep looking to the right, it's because I'm just keeping my eye on the Chelsea Zenit score. That's all. Anyway,
hey, I thought after tonight, I thought Champions League talk was banned. I tell you what. You know, the thing is, when you get to the end of the day and you've waited all day for a Champions League game, and also you waited, obviously, the whole summer to get back in the Champions League, or even longer since we knocked out of it last season. You get really, really excited. When you have to watch it middle of the day, and that happens,
I can't remember.
It winds you up. It winds you up for the rest of the day, but life goes on.
I can't remember the last time Arsenal played in the Champions League. So yeah, you're talking different language. But
you got a nice breather from European nights this season.
The next game obviously was. Well, the one that featured last on Match of the Day, Southampton against West Ham. Not a great deal to talk about with regards to this game. Couple of chances for each side, but it was a very cagey game, wasn't it? And I mean, the only real sort of talking point that I can think of is Mikel Antonio's sending off. I mean, Other than that, I mean.
Well, I think.
Southampton, I think they're still yet to win, aren't they? Southampton, they've had 3 draws. So, I don't know with this. Southampton.
You know what? But football's a funny one, of course it is. It's all about momentum. When we got back in the game against Saints a few weeks ago, Saints could have gone on and won the game. If they pick up the win there, that builds momentum. It's a decent result against West Ham. West Ham are doing really well this season. They won't look at it too negatively, but it's like you say, they need a win. And I think probably Mikel Antonio, he got his first yellow card on 71 minutes. Frustration probably creeping in. It was an argument, and you do think, keep your heads. And then after that, Declan Rice got his yellow card for a foul, and you start to think, okay, West Ham are. They need to get calm themselves and regroup. And then, of course, was cards and his marching orders, and slightly surprised really, because now that's 2 draws for West Ham after 2 cracking victories to get things going. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, United go to them on Sunday, and. Both teams in the right half of the table. Obviously, United at the top at the moment. West Ham not too far behind. Should be a cracker. Probably, hopefully, more goals than what we saw at St Mary's at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, there wasn't a lot to. Sorry, I've just noticed that Bayern Munich just taking the lead at Barcelona.
It's distracting.
No, I'm just keeping you abreast of what's going on. I know you're sort of Acapulco.
No, absolutely. That's what we're a football podcast. People want to know these things. It's good.
Thomas Muller.
So Thomas Muller. Who else?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So interesting, really. There was Saints obviously still looking for that first win, of course, and not a great deal to really talk about in this game, other than the bookings that we mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously the red card from Mikel Antonio. But it was a game, as I say, of not exactly was the reason why it was last on Match of the Day. But possession slightly in the in West Ham's favour. But again,
absolutely.
It wasn't a game short on shots, but literally the 11 for Saints and the 13 for West Ham respectively. Each side only managed to conjure up 3 on target. So maybe the less said about that, the better.
Yeah. Move on to Vicarage Road, where Watford, another defeat for them. 2-0 at home to Wolves. First win of the season, first goals of the season for Wolves, which is encouraging. I mean, as we said,
coming, wasn't it?
Sorry.
It was coming. However, I must say that the first one was an own goal, so it took until the 83rd minute for one of their own players.
Did you see the second goal? That was a bit of a bobolo. it was bobbling. I think it's probably just Wolves just deserved their little bit of luck, to be honest, after their previous couple of games. You know, I mean, they did get a bit of luck with both the goals, but that they won't mind. They'll be happy to be off the mark and
That's exactly what it is. Of course, it is. In football, you need a bit of luck. When you get that luck, you know, you want to make the most of it and kick on, and they've done that. You know, and obviously got 3 defeats or 3. I mean, the first 3 games of the season didn't produce much for them. So you know, to go away to Watford, newly promoted team, a lot of been spoken about Watford this season, and you know, decent manager, well organised, and yeah, they got a rather bobbly second goal and an own goal to get things off the mark. So, but that could be all you need. You know, they'll go back in the training.
Chinese guy, I can't remember his name. What they do?
Is he Korean?
Chinese.
He was.
Apologise if I got that wrong. I know that Wolves had a few Chinese players across. That's all. You know, I know they've had a few Chinese players.
Yeah, well, this guy is a 25-year-old Korean. He cost 10 million.
10 million? From where?
To be honest, he came from Leipzig, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Came from Leipzig. So he was he was bought by Wolves, I think, and then he was out on loan, I think it was. But anyway, he's been bought by, I think, is he on loan or has he been bought? Anyway, minor details. But He Chang Huang is the first man to score for Wolves this season for themselves, a player from their own team.
He looked like a unit.
Yeah, it's hey.
He looked like a unit. He looked taller.
Like me, is that what you said?
You know,
he looks a bit like me. Wow. Well, he's a lucky guy in that case.
Absolutely.
So there we go. We've had the WW Derby was obviously won by Wolves, and Lage is off the mark.
Yeah, I just have to say just before we move on to the Chelsea Villa game, a little bit about Watford. Obviously, we need to discuss all the teams in the league. I think Watford might find it a bit difficult this season. I'm not. Old Cisco, whatever his name is, he could be having his head on the chopping block at some point, because they do like a manager change, don't they, Watford? So obviously good result at the start of the season against Aston Villa, but since then I think it's 3 defeats on the bounce. So I don't know about that one. I'll see how they get on. Well, the next game's a massive game, isn't it? By Norwich. So
yeah. I mean, if maybe it's too early in the season to say massive game, but
it is. Right, no. But I think it's a massive game for these two, Norwich, Watford.
I think I suppose whenever you get 2 teams that have been promoted, the expectations are high, because you've got to beat the teams around you, and especially another promoted side. So yeah, I mean, obviously Norwich still struggling. Wolves now off the mark without victory. But you've got Watford, who are not in the relegation zone, but at least up against Norwich, another promoted team, should be a good one.
Villa. Well,
Chelsea Villa.
I mean,
well, there you go with this one. What do you think?
Well,
they just seem to me.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game. Obviously, Lukaku bagged a couple, but at 1-0. Obviously, Lukaku got the first. It was a great ball through. I think it was Kovacic, I think, put the ball through. It was a lovely ball through to him. Lukaku, a really good finish. I think it was his first touch of the game, actually, I was reading. And then after that, Villa had a lot of chances. They had a lot of possession. They had a lot of attacks. And I thought Villa looked quite good in that sort of after Chelsea had scored. But the second half, I think Chelsea got it together a bit more, and they sort of eased away in the end. But I think it was quite a tough game, and to come out of it with a 3-0 victory, I think they'll be absolutely delighted, because, like I said, Villa were quite a match.
Absolutely, I think you flattered them. Sure. No, I think you flattered them somewhat, really, because Villa were a decent side. They're the they didn't make in the first half. But it's as you say, I just think it's like I said to a friend of mine. In fact, Steve, we had on the show in the first time around. I was chatting to him the weekend, and as good as positive as Villa were, there was always that element, the fact they were up against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And this Chelsea team, were perhaps more inconsistent. Literally, again, it's typical. It's the usual story of, the manager and these components. The manager bagged a couple of goals. Very similar to Ronaldo. They've just kept their form from last season, the previous season. Obviously, when Lukaku went through, it was an absolute sensation, and he's just done exactly the same already. He's already got 3.
Yeah, I like
goals, I think, in his first couple of games. They were just.
It was a great finish. His second goal on his left foot smashed it to the roof of the net.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, the killer goal.
And he's got that. But
the killer goal was the second one where Tyrone Mings with a back pass, and I think Kovacic jumped in and chipped it over the keeper, and that was it. And that was a terrible mistake by Mings, to be honest, because it was 1-0. They were still in the game. They were, they had a chance still, but to give that goal away, I think that was awful from Mings.
Yeah. Well, exactly. the jury's still out on him in some sectors. Some people are big fans of him, and others, can spot the weaknesses in his game. Started really well in the Euros, and obviously then he lost his place to Maguire when he came back in, and he's got that in him. It means, I think. But that said, like I said, the importance of that second goal was you can't understate that for Chelsea, because then it obviously gave them the platform to go on, and obviously it wasn't until
handed them the victory, really.
Injury time, and Lukaku finished the job, but the goal was obviously.
Yeah, good goal. Good result for Chelsea. Bad result for Aston Villa. I think. Sorry, we got a bit of a line problem from Acapulco today, I think. You know what I mean? Because I think it's I don't know, but anyway,
we're all right. We're good.
Yeah, no, we're all right. Yeah, no, I was just saying, good result for Chelsea. Villa, they'll have easier games, I would have thought, but they weren't. I would say they weren't shamed in that game. They looked okay, and I think that they'll obviously have better days. Moving on to the only game on Sunday this week, which was at Ellen Road, Leeds against Liverpool. Thought it was going to be a tighter game. Thought it was going to be a bit of a ding dong, but really Liverpool just, in my opinion, well, it looked to me as though they didn't.
Bad this game was obviously the injury to Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that, but I mean, Liverpool didn't look as though they needed to get out of third gear in that game. It was a weird one for me. I mean, they made it look very easy, and I don't know if that's a worrying sign for Leeds. The way the game went, obviously the injury was horrific, for Harvey Elliott, and it's really sad because he's been playing so well, and to get into a team like that as a young 18-year-old lad, it's a fantastic achievement, and to now think that he may not play for I don't know, could be a year, could be more. We don't know, I don't know, but it's horrible, really, and such a shame,
Well, it is, and we wish him well. We wish him a speedy recovery. It's not going to be a speedy recovery on early assessments, but horrible when that happens. And I think, to be honest, at that point, I think Klopp was starting to feel that maybe, albeit the game was possibly, he felt like they could still win it. His mind was probably starting to shift to Harvey Elliott, and such a shame, because he started the season so well, as you said.
Yeah. I think the sickening thing was that he was just about to be substituted, wasn't he? Yeah, we're definitely having some connection problems today. So, as I was saying just then, Harvey Elliott was about to be substituted.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make matters worse, exactly. Just bad timing, of course. And
absolutely. I'm just gonna pause it there, I think, because I think we're having some real problems with our with our connection to Latin America.
I hope to see him again this season.
So we'll I'll pause it there for a second, and we'll come back in a minute. Okay, I think we might have sorted out the gremlins to Mexico
In
there.
the system.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of a siesta, maybe. The internet operators in Mexico, we know they like that sort of thing. But yeah, we
gremlins in the electricity line.
Absolutely, yeah. They do like
crop biting through the cables.
Anyway, so bad.
Liverpool.
Good result for Liverpool. Really good result for Liverpool. Played very well. Very comfortable for them. Obviously, the final game was last night. Everton against Burnley. I don't know whether you managed to watch it, but I managed to watch the whole thing last night, thinking that it wasn't going to be such a great game. But first half was very cagey. Both teams were, if anything, I think Burnley had the better of the first half. And Everton didn't look very good at all. Burnley looked very comfortable. And then when they took the lead, Burnley, in the second half, with the header from Ben Mee, I thought this could be a good result for them. And then something strange happened. It was really odd. I mean, it was a few minutes after the goal, Burnley just collapsed. It was bizarre. They conceded 3 goals in 7 minutes. I know the equaliser came, Michael Keane with the header, and then Benitez changed the tactics. He went slightly more attacking, which obviously made a big difference. And then they went and scored another couple of goals in a couple of minutes. It was it looked like they were going to score every time they went forward. I don't know what happened to Burnley in those few minutes, but they fell apart and
collapsed
from controlling a game, which they looked like they were, and Everton weren't really in it. I mean, the equaliser was obviously really important, but from going to that to losing 3-1, I can imagine Sean Dyche will be absolutely gutted.
Yeah, it's interesting now. The momentum in games can just shift. And just like you said, it's certainly, if you looked at the way that Burnley played for the majority of the game, you'd be surprised by a 3-1 scoreline. So it was, it was a big surprise. And a shame, really, because, of course, after all that work, as you say, that they put in, that would have pleased Dyche. But then to walk off to a 3-1 defeat.
I didn't see it coming. I didn't see them collapsing like that. I mean, to be fair to them, they haven't won a game yet, have they, Burnley?
Not yet. Still looking. Still searching.
But obviously, they're playing Arsenal Saturday, so that might change for them. So
things are about to change.
But good result for Everton after looking.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the way that, obviously, as you say, you got it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's games like that where he'll take positives from that. Dyche should think, we did enough in that game against Everton to go into the game against Arsenal and, have a chance. Because, like I said, for the majority of the game, they were in it. And now it's just really a case of, focusing on the positives that they can take from the game and prepare themselves well for Arsenal.
No,
because
I think on the other hand, you look at positives for Burnley, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think as well, when you look at, the impact that Benitez has had, it's a win in a game where he's probably still getting to know his players, and working out, his best team and the way forward, because as you say, they certainly didn't dominate Burnley, and that game could have gone either way. But yeah, I mean, you could say they got away with one there, really.
Cracking goal from Andros Townsend, though. God, what a goal that was!
I was surprised that the Palace got rid of him.
Yeah, well, maybe he just needed a change,
Yeah, could well have been. I think something behind the scenes, but obviously, he's got talent.
And
we've
finished on Murray Gray as well. To be fair, I mean, some players might freeze going through one-on-one like that, but he tucked it away nicely. So some good finishes. Where was Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah.
Was
he's had a great start, I think. I think he was carrying an injury.
Oh, was he carrying an injury?
But Murray Gray was very much, he's made a great start to life at Goodison, and And yeah, if they can push on, they've got some decent players. Obviously, Richarlison, I think, was given a bit of a breather because obviously he's gone straight from the Copa America to the Olympics, straight back into Premier League action. But he's got some good players at his disposal, Benitez, and he'll be quietly confident that he can do something there, I think. But in terms of the way they're playing, I mean, it's still very much a work in progress, I think. They're home to Burnley, and Burnley, as you say, were very much in it for large periods of the game, really. So.
I mean, what surprised me most actually was the Everton fans. Like I said, first half I didn't play very well. They didn't boo their team off at half time. There was a gentle sort of smattering of applause, nothing amazing. But then when they went 1-0 down, they weren't getting on the players' backs. And I thought that's unusual for Everton because they're normally pretty quick to turn on their players, like a lot of teams. Nothing against that. It's just the way it is. But they stuck with their team, which is good to see. So fair play to them. They'll move on to their next game. So that was pretty much the games for the weekend. Few teams flying. A couple of teams still without a win. 2 or 3 teams still without a win. And I must just mention, I know we spoke about the Welling Pegasus under-13s on Friday.
And they're going against the Tigresses, the Nebworth.
The Nebworth Tigresses. Now, I'd like to say they won 3-0, and it was a fantastic result.
Comprehensive.
Absolutely comprehensive. And by all accounts, the young lady who wrote to us, Scarlett, made an absolutely worldy save in goal. I'd love to have seen it, but kept a clean sheet. So, absolutely delighted for them. So well done to Scarlett and Abigail, who get in touch with us to sort of let us know how their team are doing. And good luck for this.
Good. We'll be following their progress throughout the season.
Absolutely. The Welling Pegasus under
right here on the EPL Show Plus.
Absolutely.
Right here on the EPL Show Plus, Welling women.
Absolutely. So well done to them, and I presume I'll see you again on Friday then, mate. Yeah.
Look forward to it, mate. Look forward to it. And we get stuck into another round of pulsating matches. Another match day 5 coming our way thick and fast. Yeah. I think what makes you enjoy it even more is the fact that there's an international break breathing down the neck, just over the shoulder.
Not allowed to mention it.
Well, you want to pick up momentum, and obviously we wish our supporters teams well in Europe this week. Those that are participating, I think the less said about United.
A little dig, yeah.
I tell you, it's amazing how these things just grind away, and you just suddenly think, Lingard, don't do that. After such a great goal on Saturday, Lingard's come on.
All right, listen, we're not going to talk about Man United. Listen, be great if anyone could, if you could subscribe or click the like button, leave comments below. It'd be brilliant if you could get involved. So, I mean, we're enjoying chatting about the Premier League, and we'd like to involve other people as much as we can. So we'll see you Friday, I guess.
Lovely. Can't wait, mate. Look forward to it. Enjoy your week until then. And we'll be there. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for your time. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. And see you again this side of the weekend. As we look ahead to the games.
See you later.